So this is part 2 of 2 videos. This is basically how my season ended last year, and it ended frustrating. Spoiler alert. But if you guys want to understand why I'm so frustrated, you have to go away from this video, unfortunately, and go watch this video. Merry Christmas. It's Christmas Day. It's freezing 50 degrees in Michigan here. I've been trying to come out the last 2 days. 2 days ago, I started coming out. I was trying to get here by 2. I was going to be here by 2, and my phone went off, and there was deer in front of the stand, a bunch of them. And then yesterday, I was like, well, I'll go out tomorrow at 1. Check my camera at 1. A bunch of deer in the stand. So the last 2 days, they've just been out really early, pretty much all day. Today I got lucky. There wasn't anything in front of the stand. I headed out, and there's a couple deer in the field, but they didn't see me coming in. The problem is there's always a problem. I can't do anything without having a problem. I went to set up my camera arm, and the strap for my camera is in my truck. I know right where it is because it fell in the ground. I thought it was a different strap, threw it in my truck, and left. I was contemplating whether I was going to go get it because there was a deer right behind me about 200 yards. It has since walked off, so I am going to walk as fast as I can through that mud and try to get this strap real quick and then come back, set up. The buck that I'm after, he was out 2 days ago around 5:20, which is about 14 minutes before legal hunting hours is over. So he's been daylighting. He came back across the fence, after I missed him with the gun. He has been limping, so I'm a little worried that I might have hit him. But we'll see, if I do get a shot, I'll see, what kind of damage is done. He could have just slipped and fell in this muddy. I could have got caught in a fence. There's a lot of different options as far as why he's limping. So, but for now, I gotta stop talking and get moving. I'll be right back. Got a lot hot going back and forth because I was walking as fast as I could, and then by the time I got back to the barn, there was probably like 10 pounds of mud on each boot. So it got pretty heavy, but I tried to scrape them off, and then I walked a different way out, and it helped me out a little bit. But yeah, my pants are covered in mud right now, so luckily they're mud and waterproof. Like I said, I've been wanting to hunt the last couple of days, but the wind is really in my favor today. It's south wind, and usually that would bother me because a lot of times they come from the south, but this time of year they come through the pasture and then into the field. I don't know how much they're going to come into this field today. It is it's a mud pit, so, but can't kill him from the couch, like whatever his name is always says. And that's all we'd be doing today, considering that it's Christmas. So I'm just hoping something comes in. I don't want to shoot a doe today. It's pretty warm. And I don't know if I doubt the processor's open. I don't know. I gotta look up to see what the temperature's gonna get tonight. I don't think it's supposed to get very cold. So I'll have to figure out what I'm gonna do. I used to process it myself, but I did a processor last year in the early season with Gemma's deer, and they got so much more meat than I did. They did such a better job. So I'm just gonna leave it to them. And obviously you spend more money that way. But the wind is blowing for me right to those does. They're 200 yards away, so obviously my scent is diluted. But I did just freshly wash my clothes, or I freshly dried my clothes. I wash my hat and my gloves because it has direct body contact, and I usually wash the sweatshirt. But my outer layers, I usually don't wash. I usually just dry unless they're covered in blood or mud, which these do get covered in mud, but I'll wear them 3 or 4 times before I wash them. The mud doesn't bother me. And even with them being waterproof, a lot of times if I get water on them and then it freezes, because I keep my clothes in the outside of my truck, so I keep them in my bed all the time. And a lot of times I'll get my pants wet walking back or in or out or whatever, and then I put them in my bin in my truck bed, and they'll freeze. But a lot of times with it being waterproof, the water stays on the outside of the pants, and I can still wear them and not get cold. I guess you'll see a deer if I see a deer. It's been about 45 minutes since I got in here. Quite a few deer have shown up. I had 4 come out of the woods to the north of me, which is pretty rare. I mean, I've had it happen over the years, but this year it's really rare because it's basically a pond in there. It's very wet. So I think that they were bedded right up close to the edge. And considering I walked so far away from them to walk in, they just didn't know I was here. But they're probably, right now they're exactly 200 yards. It's exactly 200 yards from the stand to that woods, and they're just creeping along that fence. They keep looking back as if there's like something else going to come out, like another buck or something, but I mean, if there is one in there, it's one I haven't seen, because both the bucks that I've been watching this year, the one is for sure a shooter. The other one, it's hard for me to decide because he looks like a young buck. His rack looks like a young buck because it's very thin. Like it's got a good amount of size, but it's very narrow at the bottom, at the base. And a lot of times, the older they get, those bases get bigger. And it has a very small base. But he's got a big gut. He walks like a heavy deer, so it's hard to see. But I haven't seen him during rut at all. I saw him in the early season, and I've seen him now. And I don't think I saw him once during the rut. It was the main buck that I'm after, the buck that I passed up, and that was it. I didn't see anything else, during the peak rut days, I should say. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of deer over there, so a bunch of them must have bedded in that woods. I assume it's probably because my grandpa did not kick them out. He didn't burn a fire today, so they probably bedded in there and stayed in there. So I'm really mad because I was looking at the bucks along the fence row, and these 2 other really solid bucks jumped the fence. Bucks I had never seen before. It really makes me mad because what's going to happen is they're just going to go down to the south property, go down to that hayfield down there, and they're going to come out. And they'll probably never make their way up here. But that was 2 more bucks. And they jumped the fence. I was like, oh, that's sweet. And I didn't get any of it on camera. And I was in my head, I'm thinking, man, this is really good footage. As I was looking at my screen, watching them jump the fence, watching them run across the pasture. And I didn't get any of it. I'm so mad at myself right now. So I don't even know if I got any of those bucks on camera. I mean, I had the two that I've been watching all night. And then there's two more that I did not recognize. But I only got to see them in this small screen for a very short amount of time. But there's two shooter bucks, two extra shooter bucks that came across, and one looked bigger than any buck I had seen this year. So one of those does just came out. Like I said, they're going to go out to the south. There's some deer way in the south, but that's not the same deer I'm talking about. But all those deer just came out from where those deer ran into. The bucks are probably still in the woods, or they went into the south woods on the south side of that grass field. When I first saw him come into the field, there was maybe 8 minutes left of legal hunting, and I didn't think he was even going to come my direction. When he started walking my direction, I couldn't figure out why he was walking my direction. There was a bunch of deer in the field that were east of him. He could have walked out to them. I had no idea why he was coming my way. When he was down at the end of the woods, I could see him because the light coming around the woods basically casted a silhouette of his body, and I could tell it was him. Plus he was limping, and he had been limping ever since I missed him, pretty much. But with my camera, I could turn my ISO way up so I could see him on my camera. So I was looking out in front of me, and I was trying to figure out if there was anything I could see that I could pick up. When he got to that point, I would grab my bow. And I should have just grabbed my bow. And instead, I kept watching him on the camera, and I could see this mud puddle about 40 yards out. I was like, when he gets to that mud puddle, I'm going to grab my bow. And I'm getting on camera, and I'm zooming out a little bit, so I have a little wiggle room to work with. And as I grab my bow, two does that came out of my grandparents' woods that were all out in the middle of the woods earlier were right underneath my stand, and I had no idea. I couldn't hear them. I never saw them. I had tunnel vision. It was my own fault, and I lost track of those deer. They jumped, they scattered,
He kept walking towards me, but as soon as they scattered, he just started staring at me. So, I'm slowly moving and I'm watching him on camera. And actually, I'm not even watching him. I'm literally just staring like straight ahead, and I'm kind of like looking down in my corner of my eye. Keeps looking at me, keeps looking at me. And I couldn't shoot because there's a bunch of tree limbs in the way. My whole goal was he was going to cross through into the field and I was going to shoot him. So I never saw him again. I think I pretty much hunted every day. I think we had our Christmas on the 26th, so I didn't hunt then. But the 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th, 31st, the 1st, I hunted all those days. I sat through blizzards. I sat through windstorms. I never saw him until January 1st. I saw him in the pasture, and I obviously I didn't have an opportunity, and therefore it was frustrating. But at the same time, I was happy to see he made it through the next year. I was hoping to see him this year, and I'm assuming he's probably bigger. Skip ahead to the summer and this fall. I haven't seen him on camera once. Last year, I don't believe I saw him showing up on camera until mid-October. I don't really remember. He didn't do a whole lot of camera. There wasn't a whole lot of camera action last year until later in the season. I know that for sure. But he was on it a lot after that. So I'm hoping maybe he'll show up. I haven't even bought my license yet. It's October 4th. I'm working on 2 big projects. Technically, I'm working on 3 big projects. One of the 3 is I'm moving. I'm going to be moving here in my office, and we own the house next door, and I'm going to finish the house next door. So I will be doing some hunting. I have a couple trips planned, and we'll be doing a lot of weekend hunts, but more than likely I'll be doing some weekday hunts as well. It hasn't been my #1 priority this year, unfortunately. I have 4 camera reviews coming up pretty soon. They are shot, they just have not been edited, but I'll be editing, sitting on my couch while. Yeah, man, leave a comment. Tell me how bad of a hunter I am. I don't mind. It doesn't bother me. Thanks for watching.